myself, no one would listen. The time I'm thinking of is when I was blamed for stealing a pencil. This was in about third or fourth grade. I really liked that pencil, so my little self asked, "Hey, can I play with it?" And I don't really remember the person who gave it to me, so I'll just call them, Led. Led! I'll call him Led. So Led handed me the pencil, and I played with it like I said I would. But then I gave it back to him. Led said thank you. Later, I got into trouble because I had supposedly stolen his pencil. I looked at Led, and they were already outside and playing! My teacher didn't believe me and had already given it back. I was inside for all recess. You know what? Unfairness happens all the time. And does anyone do anything about it? Sometimes unfairness is pretty trivial, like being blamed for a stolen pencil. Sometimes it's really serious, like being objectified because you're a woman or being treated differently because of your skin color. Why can't we make it so people work harder and care more about being
fair in all things? I see people from other countries being treated unfairly in the U.S., mostly because they aren't citizens. But why is the land of the free treating non-citizens so poorly, affording them none of the rights that free people should have? You know that people are being treated extremely unfair, and we all can work hard to change that. But you know what? Most people aren't willing to put in the effort. So, maybe we all just need to take a look in the community and see the things that aren't fair with it. Imagine what that feels like for a moment. Let's see if we are willing to help instead of hurt our community and all of the people in it. We can start by caring. I'm Annie on EmpowerHour on KCJLP 105.7 FM. And today's topic is, what? That's so unfair. And up next we have, you know when you split a candy bar in half, you're always going to want the bigger piece, right? In our country, the one with the most wins, right? And unless you're winning, most of life will seem hideously unfair to you. I mean, why does life feel like it is always a race or a competition? We are all at war with each other, but we prefer not to realize it. You swam more miles, or can dance better, or got more Facebook likes than average. Well done. You are the winner.
and you are the loser.
You are tuned to KXCJLP 105.7 FM Cave Junction, listening to Ladyline, where we ask and you answer. I'm Phoebe Hertler.
I'm Isadora Malay.
And we are Ladyline. Coming from the Illinois Valley is a group of teens ready to make a difference. Thank you for tuning in to Ladyline, where today's topic is personal experiences with unfairness.
Now, if you think about it, you can see unfairness all the time. People who have too much, people who have too little. It's in our own lives where we notice it the most. Schools like to say teamwork matters more than who wins. But the truth is that winning is rewarded as losing is scorned upon. Society constantly reinforces that it's being number one that is really great, and number 2 or 3 are barely acceptable.
People dress up and wear makeup to win partners. They go on interviews to win jobs. And the best is only available to those who are willing to truly fight for it. And even then, there can only be a few at the top. The world is full of smart people who literally plot against coworkers, scream at politicians at town hall meetings, and give unaware grocery clerks the evil eye as they deal with what they believe is unfair. The whole American idea of winning and losing perpetuates the concept of what's fair and what's not. It's like watching a bunch of adults play Monopoly and cheat, scream, and blame other players for their own bad luck and demise.
But what is fair and unfair can range from the trivial, like who gets the bigger half of a candy bar, to the serious, like who gets health benefits in our country. Not all issues of justice are equal, and some wreak far more havoc on people's lives than others. Let's face it, there's unfairness and then there's injustice. Today we will interview a guest who has to experience unfairness in the world and in her everyday life. Well, some of you might not think it's unfairness because you believe that undocumented people should not be afforded the same human rights as those born legally in this country. For the sake of our interviewee today, she is going to remain anonymous. Our guest today is a single mother of 2 and is trying her best to navigate our systems and rules as an undocumented immigrant. Hello, guest, and thank you for coming today. It's great to have you.
Hi, thanks for having me.
We'd like to let everybody out there know that Ladyline is taking calls throughout this interview. So, call in at 541-592-4112 if you have anything you'd like to say. Do you have any crazy stories about today's topic that you'd like to tell? Then call in at 541-592-4112. Now let's get on with the interview. Can you tell us the main reasons you think you are treated unfairly?
Sure, there's quite a few reasons. First off, as a woman, I faced a lot of unfairness in my life, and as a parent of a mixed child in America, has been quite challenging because of unfairness. It's kind of hard to start because there's so much to it, but I don't have the same rights or freedoms as others. I have no right to government-funded anything, no right to a driver's license or health care. I can't rent an apartment or get a regular paying job. People see people for their status lately and not as human beings anymore. Judging others by a legal status is quite unfair, I believe.
Could you tell us some experience that you have had with unfairness?
Sure. Let me go to the box and dig a couple out. A couple of weeks ago, I found a note on my car that was less than nice. It was talking about how people like my daughter and I should be raped or be hurt because there's no space in this country for immigrants or people of color, and it was signed by MAGA. There's one of them. The other one is that my daughter was bullied very, very heavily for the color of her skin at school. It was brought to the attention of the principal, and instead of the principal taking action against the people racially bullying my child, they actually protected the bullies, claiming that they had a hard home life, and therefore didn't take any action against it at all. So the bullying just continued. So there's 2 examples of unfairness, and they were just lately.
How does it make you feel to receive these notes towards you and your child?
It absolutely devastates me. I'm the kind of person that would like everybody being treated equally and fairly. I think judging people by the color of their skin or the place where they come from is absolutely ridiculous, because in the end we are all the same. There is no better human than another just because of any of the things that I just mentioned, like color of the skin, place of origin, sexual orientation. I find it absolutely ridiculous that people judge others by that and see people as less because of any of these reasons. So it disgusts me, actually, that people would be going out of their way to be so cruel to other people.
Do you feel endangered?
Definitely. definitely. There's people in from my recent past. We just got out of a domestic violence relationship because, unfortunately, because of my legal standing, I was stuck in a very, very bad relationship because I cannot get my own apartment or a job that pays, enough to keep my children and myself afloat. So as soon as people, in this case, my ex, he decided that he's going to call INS and try to get me deported. Um, as soon as people turn sour on me, that's the first thing that they threaten to do is to get me deported. And if I would get deported, I can't take my children with me because my children are American citizens, which is actually the reason I am still stuck in the States. I could get on a plane tomorrow, but I would not be able to take my children with me because the fathers of my children would have to give permission for my children to leave the country, which, as you can imagine, is not going to happen. So I actually fear about this a lot because people threaten me with it all the time.
If your children were able to leave with you, would you leave?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would go back to my country of origin where I count as a human being. I would have rights to health insurance. I would have my independence back. And to be quite frank, where I come from, we don't have the same prejudice that is happening in America, unfortunately.
You live with this fear of being deported and all the restrictions put on you.
Yes, I do. Every day I live with it. It's sometimes you have to ignore it in order to function correctly. But there's moments, especially late at night when my children are in bed, that I really do worry about it a lot.
Do you ever feel like the world is rigged against you?
Not necessarily the world being rigged against me, but I do feel like a lot of laws that are being passed specifically to suppress and oppress people like me. And I do think that our immigration system was not so faulty, that a lot more people would go about it, I guess you would call it the right way. I think a lot more people would get their immigration in order. But what people do not understand is just how expensive and how complicated the immigration system is, that you have to spend and come up with a lot of money just to get a worker's permit. There's a lot of loopholes that definitely need improving to make it easier for people to immigrate legally to the U.S. to make a better life for themselves and their families.
Could you tell us a little bit about what your experience with the immigration system is and what has happened to you while dealing with it?
Sure. When I first came to America, I came here because my ex-husband was in the service. He was stationed in my country, and then he got stationed stateside. And I was 21 years old. I was heavily in love, and I decided to go with him. And before we left, I had a few questions about, immigration and how this is going to work, because the immigration system had just changed at that point. Before 9/11, if you were married to an American citizen, you were automatically naturalized, which was changed. So my ex-husband and the commanding officer told me that I can always worry about my immigration once I'm in the country, because I had a 60-day visitor visa. You automatically get that with the kind of passport that I had. The problem is right after we moved to America, my ex-husband was stationed in Iraq. And he told me that after his deployment, we would worry about my immigration. And in between that year of his deployment, I would not get deported. I believed him. And when he came back with heavy PTSD and had no interest in making me a legal citizen, because it is easier to suppress a person when they don't have any rights. So long story short, my mother sent me money, and I had all my paperwork in order to start applying for a green card. And I did get started on it, and mind you, all that money is non-refundable. If you are not in contact with immigration officials, they will take your alien registration number, put it back in the lottery, and give it to someone else if you don't respond in a timely manner. And because of my situation after he came back, I was not able to stay in communication, so I lost my alien registration number. What followed was a very ugly divorce and a custody battle, and it was constantly brought up in court that I'm an undocumented person. Luckily, the judge did not see it as a problem in my parenting skills. So I did get sole custody of my daughter. And after that, my passport was taken from me, so I can no longer prove when I came to the country, which you have to provide that proof if you are applying for a green card. So it's pretty much like a cat chasing its own tail. If it's not the money, then it is papers that I can't provide. So I'm just stuck in immigration limbo and still count as undocumented.
And what are you trying to do to get your green card now?
There's really nothing I can do in trying to get my green card now because, like I said, I no longer have proof when and how I came here. And even if there was a way around that, I do not have the money to get legal. And another thing that kind of holds me back is the current administration that we have that has absolutely zero tolerance for people like me.
Do you think that everyone should get an equal amount of something, or do you think that if someone has worked extra hard that they should get more?
Um, I really think that, if there's a person that works longer hours or works harder, that they absolutely deserve, a higher pay. When it comes to unfairness, I really think that it goes more for civil and human rights where I see most unfairness happening. I think we should all be treated equal and with the same rights. But sure, when it comes to money, if you work harder and if you work longer hours, then you absolutely deserve to get more.
Have you ever been cheated out of something that you thought should fairly be yours?
Oh yeah, I've been cheated out of many things in my life. Some are more trivial than others. But I think the biggest thing that I got cheated out of is my freedom.
And what might you put in the place to make the world fair?
I really think it starts in our communities. That's a tough one. There's so much I could say about it, and I got to reduce it to just a few sentences. I think that we should all have the same rights, no matter our skin color, our religion, our sexual orientation. I think we should all have the same basic human and civil rights to make it fair that people of the LGBTQ community can adopt children and get married, just like the rest of us can. So civil rights is a big issue, and civil rights is the beginning of making things fair for everyone.
How do you deal with unfairness?
I'm very vocal about unfairness, and I think the best way that I can deal with it is at home with making sure that my children treat other people fairly. Making sure that I catch myself and not being unfair to someone else.
Are there times when you see your children treated unfairly, and how?
Oh, I see it a lot. Like I said previously, my daughter has been treated heavily unfairly just because of the color of her skin or because of her sexual orientation. I've also seen my son being treated unfairly. My son has special needs. And societal standard is absolutely unfair with judging what is normal and what isn't. So yeah, I've seen my children treated unfairly quite a few times, and it, as a mom, it makes me really angry. But I have to channel that anger and not explode.
How do you deal with your children being treated unfairly? What are some of the ways that you try to remedy it?
Well, when my children tell me that they're being treated unfairly, of course it hurts their feelings. So the first thing that I do is I comfort them, and I am trying to change their perspective a little bit so they don't think that the world is out to get them, that it is just certain people that will always be treating others unfairly and that it is not their fault. I think that is like the main thing that I do so they don't feel so vulnerable or defeated.
When you were a child, were you treated unfair a lot?
Well, I was the middle child. My mother had 3 children, and I was the middle child. I had an older brother and a smaller sister. So, yeah, I was treated unfairly a lot. But I really think now that I'm a parent myself that sometimes we treat our children unfairly, but not on purpose. There's times where I catch myself when I'm, really tired and I don't want to hear it. And then I know I'm treating them unfairly by letting them know, okay, I'm done. I'm not listening to this. You go do this and you go do that, even though one of them had a valid point. So there's definitely room for improvement.
Do you remember any stories from you being treated unfair?
Yes.
Could you share it?
Sure. Um, my mother worked a lot as a single mom, and I kind of got put more responsibility on me than should have. And my mother came home from work, and our apartment was a big mess. And my brother made a big mess on purpose to get me in trouble. And I tried explaining to my mother what was happening, and she had a long day at work, and she was not having it. So I ended up getting grounded for, I think it was 4 weeks, which was a really long time. And back then, we didn't have cell phones that somebody could take away. The biggest thing you could take away was time outside. So I was grounded for a month and couldn't go outside and play.
Are there any stories from history about particular situations of unfairness where justice has been served that inspire you?
You know, I was really, really digging deep and trying to find some historical story or some things from recent events where I was looking for that, where justice has been served. And I'm really sad to say that there is not a single story where justice has been served that inspire me, especially with current events happening where so much injustice to people is happening.
Well, thank you so much for talking with us here on Ladyline. It's really been a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me.
We hope you and everybody else out there enjoyed this topic.
If you would like to hear more from us, of course you do, just tune in next Saturday at 11. Unfortunately, we have to pass this over to the next segment of Empower Hour. Thanks for listening to Ladyline. Every person is born into the U.S. and are told that they are a free person. They are told of the American dream, the white picket fence and perfect Christian family, Bible school and trips to Disneyland. But what people fail to tell you when you're born is that all of that is a lie. I'm Isadora Malay, and today I'm going to tell you guys about something that goes on every day of our lives. Something that rips families apart, and that something is called the Justice Court. There are countless families in the world who are trying to break free from toxic and abusive relationships. But they can't because the Justice Court gets to decide whether their experiences are bad enough for them to break free. Do you realize how messed up that is? How that is a completely broken system? The fact that you have to do exactly what a white privileged man sitting high on a cushioned chair tells you to do? It doesn't matter to them whether or not you did all that work in the relationship, or whether you single-handedly supported your family while your partner did God's know what, only to abuse you and degrade you night after night. After all, if it isn't in the law book or documented, they won't do anything about it. Now, I'm not saying that this is the case for everybody. I'm sure there are people out there who get a fair hearing and trial with the Justice Court. But the fact remains, how many people are set free from their toxic relationships and are able to start anew, compared to all the people who don't get a fair trial and are stuck with their partner haunting their every day? The Justice Court is supposed to take away the straw that broke the camel's back. But instead, all it does is feed the camel to make it last just a little bit longer. I have a friend of mine who has been caught up in a legal battle like this, trying to get free of their dad and live in sole custody with their mom. This battle has been going on for 4 years and they are 14 years old. My friend has told me stories about what their battle has been like and the injustices that the justice court has given them. Ironic, right? We wanted to tell the world what goes on to families like my friend's every single day. Because we don't want to sit around every day and watch situations like this happen with no one trying to stop it. Or even voicing what it's like for a kid when a judge tries to tell them where they feel safe. The justice court is a broken system and the world needs to fix it. My friend's voice, for the purpose of this interview, has been altered so that she can remain anonymous.
So my experiences with unfairness all started out when my mom left my dad. She left because of how toxic their relationship was for him and her and him and us. I have 2 sisters and we all have been going through this battle with my mom. My mom finally decided to leave my dad because of all the abuse that went around in our household. And it was very toxic between them because all you would hear is he never respected her. He never let her go out to the store without asking. He never gave her money of her own. She always had to ask him before doing anything. And a lot of the time, us kids would see it all happen. We would see her getting abused, getting her thrown down the stairs. And it's really upsetting to have to see if that's what goes on with your parents. And it's really upsetting to know that it's never gonna last.
After my friend's mom separated from her toxic relationship, the court told my friend and her sisters what they had to do and forced them to stay in touch with their father and go to his house every other week, no matter what my friend and her sisters actually wanted to do.
We'd have to do weekly visits, me and my sisters, to my dad's house, and we'd have to call every Wednesday, no matter if we wanted to. I remember we'd always cry before we called because we were too scared to talk to him because of what we saw in our house. And every time before we saw him, we'd all have to talk about what we can't say in front of him and what we can say. We can't decide for ourselves. We have to listen to what the court says because they don't care what we have to say. It's all in the parenting plan, and whatever parent seems more fit to own kids gets to have custody. No matter what the kids say, no matter what we do, we can't change their opinion. But what I think is that they need to listen to us and that we should be respected just as much as everyone else. I never really got to go to court or see anything that happened because it all happened with my parents. But I wrote letters to the court saying how much I would want to be with my mom instead. And my little sister wrote letters, and my older sister wrote letters, but they never got to the court because my dad decided that he didn't want the judge to see them.
Could you talk about what life at your dad's house is like?
My dad has, I think it's a pretty toxic relationship at least. We went there and all it is fighting between him and his girlfriend, and it's really hard for us kids to stand it. And it gives us so much anxiety and just stress on us.
Could you talk about how it makes you feel to be stuck in this relationship with your dad and not being able to get out of it because the court says you have to?
Powerless. It's so bad. You can't decide for yourself. Even if I ask my dad, he'll still decide for me. I have a problem because I can't really decide on things because my dad kind of he never lets me pick what I want. If he'll say, do you want to go to here to eat or here? I'll say something and I'll always be wrong. No matter what he wants, he'll pick. He'll say, well, oh, that place isn't that good. Let's go somewhere else. He doesn't care what I think. He only cares about himself. Same with my little sister. She has a problem with deciding because of what my dad does to us.
If you could get your own way, and if you weren't told from the court and your dad what you had to do, what would you do? What would be your choice?
To be honest, I probably would never see my dad again. It's really hard to say, but it's true. I've been hurt so much by him. I don't even know if I can love him anymore. And my little sister says, well, he's our dad. Why can't you? And it's just, he's made me so angry that I can't. And I don't know if I can anymore. And there's just so much pressure on us kids to make the right decision, and no matter what we choose, it's never right.
What does the court do when you talk to them about your dad?
Well, we recently started talking to someone about it, and she says that it's not going to happen anymore because she listened to our stories and she's finally going to help us with it because we told her most of the stuff that's happened in the past 4 years, and she's going to fight for us and help us too. Because we told her about everything my dad's done to hurt us and everything the court is not doing to help us with it because they don't care. At least what I think. I don't think they care.
Could you talk a little bit about some of the stuff that your dad does when you're over at his house?
Well, he always is manipulating me and guilt tripping me because most of the time I tell him before I come that I don't want to come, or I tell my mom that I don't want to go and she'll tell him, but I eventually have to go anyway. But he always guilt trips me and says, why didn't you want to come? And he always asks me if it's my mom deciding for me and that I have a say, but in the end I really never have had a say with my dad.
Could you talk about how this has affected your family with your sisters and your mom, and how you guys get through it?
It has so negatively impacted us. The best we can do to help ourselves and each other is just, we need to be together, and we can't let it impact us. We just have to work through it because in the end, if we don't, it just is going to get worse like all the other times. So now we're actually trying to take a stand and be heard pretty much.
Is there anything else that you would like to say about the court or how you feel or your dad?
I recently went to court with my mom and my sister, so we wouldn't have to see my dad, so my mom could get a stalking order against my dad's girlfriend. And a few days later, when they found out that there is going to be a stalking order against her, they got married, and they didn't tell me that until afterwards. And now I know that my dad probably doesn't want to see me anymore because he knows that I won't be able to see him if my mom can't see his girlfriend or I can't be around his, wife. And he knows that I can't be around her anymore, and he got married to her after finding out. So that really hurt. And there's been times at my dad's where everyone is just trying to get me to believe that my mom's the one doing this all by saying that she's always trying to brainwash me into not wanting to come there, which isn't true, and I told them before. And they just don't believe me. They just want to believe that it's my mom, and that's what they are believing. But I'm telling them that it's me trying to make my own decision and I don't want to come anymore, but he doesn't care. Not too long ago, the last time I went to my dad's, it was probably a month ago. My half sister was there and she said, "It's okay, Phoebe. I know my mom does this to me too. She probably just doesn't care about us. It's okay. She turned her back on me too. I've been guilt tripped into it too." And they wouldn't let me speak to my mom or text my mom on the phone or anything because they thought she was trying to make me want to come home, which I wanted to come home because I can't be there. I'm terrified when I'm there.
How does it make you feel other than terrified to be at your dad's house?
I'm always so angry. Everyone's always watching over me when I'm talking on the phone with my mom or texting my mom. And the other day I was talking to my mom on the phone while I was there, and my dad's girlfriend's kids, they came up to me after I was done on the phone and they're like, "Why do you look so sad?" And I said, "I'm not sad." And then they're like, "It's probably because you're talking to your mom." And then they tried to give me a hug because they felt bad that I was talking to my mom. But really the reason I was sad was because I was there. Once, not too long ago, they all went to the ocean and I had something to do that day, so they all went to the ocean and left me at the house after. And my grandma made me cook for my dad and made me wait there for him for probably 4 hours while everyone else was out having fun at the ocean, and I was just at home sitting down on the couch FaceTiming my mom because of how much I missed her.
What would your ideal living situation be?
Living with my mom, not having to see my dad if I don't want to. I've told him once that, Dad, if you let me decide when I want to come, maybe I would come once in a while if you didn't force me into this. Because what you're doing is making me not want to come anymore.
And what did he say?
He just ignores it. He acts like I love to be there. That's what everyone thinks. I just think it's so unfair that no one listens to us.
This is what happens to families every day. The justice court doesn't give kids a say in anything. To them, it doesn't matter what a kid feels. It only matters who in the relationship has the most money and best living conditions. That is unfair. The fact that people with no clue of a kid's living situation and feelings get to boss kids around with no real experience in the matter is sick. To the average American, they might think that losing Fortnite is unfair. But you know what? Unfairness is not being able to choose where you live. Unfairness is being bossed around by people you don't know on serious matters. Unfairness is being stuck in a place where you feel unsafe and unwelcome but are told you have to stay there. Unfairness is when you, a human being with a heart and soul, is told what you can and can't do and where you can and can't go by a random stranger who was appointed to boss you around. That is unfairness, and that is what happens every day of our lives to people all around us. But hey, let's all go to church and pray to the God who blessed us with a world filled with psychopathic, power-hungry demagogues, sexism, racism, war, and the justice court.
Has anything unfair ever happened to you?
Yes.
No? Let me think.
Everything.
Jeez, I said let me think.
On KXCJLP 105.7 FM, Cave Junction. You're still listening to Empower Hour, where roaring from the soul is our goal. And if you aren't listening, you won't be able to hear us, so come on.
This is my obnoxious fandom, and the awkward things that happen to us might just happen to you on this episode.
The world isn't fair anymore.
Well, my grandma had breast cancer, and 2 years ago, she started to have really large appearance differences, like scrawny arms, no hair, small legs, etc. Soon, she started to lose the ability to walk and had to stay in the hospital bed and slept a lot. She started to get better and walk, but a couple months later died.
Are you okay? Are you okay?
No.
You think that's unfair? My life is a living hell. My mom has like 9,000 health problems. And her pain is slowly killing me. My brother has like 7 mental issues like ODD, ADHD, impulse control. And me and my brother don't live with our real dads because they're both not okay. And I'm constantly stressed over my 9,700 other commitments in life.
Jeez, are you okay?
No.
You think that's unfair? My brother's annoying. Sorry, Toby. And being a freshman kinda sucks.
Is that all?
No, I'm also always stressed, and I really want to be a cheerleader, but I can't. And every time I see girls at our school at cheer practice or in their outfits, I get jealous and sad that I can't join because I'm already doing 97,000 other things. And I want to do like 12,000 things after graduation. I have no idea what I'm doing with my life.
Everything about this is just terrible. Even our favorite celebrities have experienced something terrible. According to Hollywood Reporter, Oprah Winfrey was raped and had a child at the age of 14 because of it. It's absolutely terrible.
Michael Jackson died.
Stephen Hawking died.
He was not even a part of pop culture.
It was still unfair.
Well, you think that's unfair? BTS lives in Korea. I'm never going to be able to meet them and touch their faces, forever leaving my life lonely and incomplete.
You think that's unfair? Everyone on The Walking Dead is dying.
Duh. You think that's unfair? Stranger Things 3 is taking forever to release. How do you think I feel?
Wait, all of this isn't that important, guys. Like, so what if Stranger Things is taking forever to release? People are dying everywhere, going through stuff, actual stuff, and our world is falling apart.
You make a good point, but I just have to bring up something. Quote, immigration policy, and specifically illegal immigration to the United States, was a signature issue of U.S. President Donald Trump's presidential campaign, and his proposed reforms and remarks about this issue generated much publicity. Official estimates of the number of illegal immigrants in the United States range from 11 to 12 million. Trump has repeatedly characterized such immigrants as criminals, although multiple studies have found that they have lower crime and incarceration rates than native-born Americans. A hallmark promise of his campaign was to build a substantial wall on the United States-Mexico border. End quote.
Everything we have been crying about, like BTS, Walking Dead, and Stranger Things, seems stupid compared to what's really going on.
Excuse me, Becky?
And here's a song that just might explain how terrible this is.
Please take a long hard look through your textbook, 'cause I'm history. When I strap my helmet on, I'll be long gone, 'cause I've been dying to leave. Yeah, I'll ride the range and hide all my loose change in my bedroll, 'cause riding a dirt bike down a turnpike always takes its toll on me. I've had just about enough of quote diamonds in the rough, because my backbone is paper thin. Get me out of this cavern or I'll cave in. If the bombs go off, the sun will still be shining, because I've heard it said that every mushroom cloud has a silver lining. Always undermining, too deep to swallow a drop of gravel and blacktop, 'cause the road tastes like winter green. The wind and the rain smell of oil and octane mixed with stale gasoline. I'll soak up the sound, try to sleep on the wet ground. I'll get 10 minutes, give or take, 'cause I just don't foresee myself getting drowsy when cold integrity keeps me wide awake. Get me out of this cavern or I'll cave in. Get me out of this cavern or I'll cave in. I'll keep my helmet on just in case my head caves in, 'cause if my thoughts collapse or my brain work snaps, it'll make a mess like you wouldn't believe. Tie my handlebars to the stars so I stay on track, and if my intentions stray, I'll wrench them away. Then I'll take my leave, and I won't even look back. I won't even look back.
Wow. Due to drinking and drugs and just everything.
Everything is so unbearable.
Unbearable.
Stop interrupting me.
If you guys keep fighting, the show will be over before you know it.
But I really...
Maya's
I'm
right. But Maisie started it.
What?
Guys, stop it!
Fine.
You know what else is really unfair? When people use drug and alcohol so irresponsibly that now the world is getting more and more and more dangerous each day.
Didn't Michael Jackson have drugs in his system when he died?
That's right. And that's unfairness to pop culture.
And something even more unfair. Well, not really. Michael Jackson was important. But poverty is also everywhere. And it sucks.
All us teens want is a fair chance at a good life.
And if you think America is bad, just look at the whole world. Everything is a disaster.
We just want to survive. So, stay safe. Don't do drugs or alcohol unless being responsible and prescribed. And look both ways before crossing the street.
Talia, stay on topic. Wait, let's not forget about relationship unfairness.
Honey, don't get me started on that. Try loving someone that doesn't know you exist.
I have been there way too many times, Talia.
Stay on topic.
But
I mean, I guess it counts as unfairness, but still. So, what about women being objectified, or how racism is terrible, or just life?
But how about Battle Scars by Luke Fiasco and Guy Sebastian? It's great for the topic of relationship unfairness.
Yes, Talia. Yes. Press play.
But wait, I thought we would actually get into relationship unfairness. Like, you know how they cheat, stab you in the back, and how only a healthy relationship has trust? Do I not get an opinion?
Hope the wound heals, but it never does. That's 'cause you at war with love. You at war with love.
These battle scars don't look like they're fading. Don't look like they're ever gone away. They ain't never gonna change. These battles.
Love. Never let a wound ruin me. But I feel like ruins wooing me. Arrow holes that never close from Cupid on a shooting spree. Feeling stupid 'cause I know it ain't no you and me. But when you're trying to beat the odds up and trying to keep your nods up, and you know that you should know and let it go, but the fear of the unknown, hone another lover's phone sends you back into the zone. With no Tom Hanks to bring you home, a lover not a fighter on the front line with a poem. Trying to write yourself a rifle, maybe sharpen up a song to fight the tanks and drones of you being alone.
I wish I never looked, I wish I never touched. I wish that I could stop loving you so much. 'Cause I'm the only one that's trying to keep us together. When all of the signs say that I should forget her. I wish you were the best I ever had. I wish that the good outweighed the bad. 'Cause it'll never be over. It'll never be over until you tell me it's over. These
but you said it, and I hope you never come back. It shouldn't have happened, but you let it. Now you're down on the ground screaming medic. The only thing that comes is the post-traumatic stresses. Shields, body armors, and vests don't properly work. That's why you're in a locker full of hurt. The enemy within and all the fires from your friends. The best medicines to probably just let her win.
I wish I couldn't feel, wish I couldn't love. I wish that I could stop 'cause it hurts so much. And I'm the only one that's trying to keep us together. When all of the signs say that I should forget her. I wish you were the best I ever had. I wish that the good outweighed the bad. 'Cause it'll never be over.
Can never be over
until you tell me it's over.
Until you tell me it's over. Does, that's because you at war with love.
And I'm at the point of breaking, and it's impossible to shake it.
See, you hope the wound heals, but it never does. That's 'cause you at war with love. Hope it heals, but it never does. That's 'cause you at war with love.
Does that answer your question?
You bitch cat.
Well, I am sorry to say, listeners, that we are out of time. And the fact that this episode has to end is just so, what's the word? Unfair.
Hey, make sure you don't have too many unfair things in your life.
You can't change that.
Yes, you can.
You've just been empowered by the hour. Bye!
EmpowerHour is a project of RiverStars Performing Arts, made possible by the Oregon Community Foundation's Community Grant. Rants are written and performed by Annie Hertler. Lady Line is written by Phoebe Hertler and hosted by Phoebe Hertler and Isadora Millay. Our pre-recorded segment was written and produced by Isadora Millay. My Obnoxious Fandom is written by Maisie Drew and Maya Hauk, and hosted by Maisie Drew, Maya Hauk, and Talia Atlas. Our adult helpers are Nellie Barrera, Keith, Chris Hall, and Gina Angelique. Make sure to follow us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/IVRiverStars and subscribe to our YouTube channel at www.youtube.com/RiverStarsPerformingArts. Stay tuned for Section D with Midge Note coming right up. You're listening to KXCJLP 105.7 FM Cave Junction. We'd like to wish a happy birthday to two of our EmpowerHour cast, Talia Atlas and Isadora Millay. Thank you both for coming into the station on your special day.
White lips, pale face, breathing in snowflakes, burnt lungs, sour taste. Lights gone, days end, struggling to pay rent, long nights, strange men. And they say she's in the class A team, stuck in her daydream. Been this way since 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries. And they scream the worst things in life come free to us, 'cause we're just under the upper hand. I'm go mad for a couple grams, and she don't wanna go outside tonight. And in a pipe she flies to the motherland, or sells love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly, for angels to fly. Ripped gloves, raincoat, tried to swim, stay afloat, dry house, wet clothes. Loose change, banknotes, weary-eyed, dry throat, cool girl, no phone. They say she's in the class A team, stuck in her daydream. Been this way since 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries. And they scream the worst things in life come free to us, 'cause we're just under the upper hand. I'm go mad for a couple grams, but she don't wanna go outside tonight. And in a pipe she flies to the motherland, and sells love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly. An angel will die, covered in white, closed eye, and hoping for a better life. This time we'll fade out tonight, straight down the line. They say she's in the class A team, stuck in her daydream. Been this way since 18, but lately her face seems slowly sinking, wasting, crumbling like pastries.
hand, go mad for a couple grams. We don't wanna go outside tonight. In the pipe, fly to the motherland, or sell love to another man. It's too cold outside for angels to fly.